take a tender to get off the cruise ship to go to the mainland Shetland Island. September 5, 2006. Today's destination is the Mousa Nature Reserve.
I'm your driver guide for this morning. It's just a short trip down to Mousa.
Once we arrived in the town of Lerwick, we boarded a bus that took us for a 30-minute ride to the dock where we would meet our ferry boat to the Mousa Nature Reserve.
I'd just like to welcome you all to Shetland. You're in the port of Lerwick. Lerwick is the largest town in Shetland with a population about 7,500. We have about 22,000 people in Shetland altogether.
During our bus ride, we passed through some residential areas and we met some of the town buildings.
The building coming up on the left used to be a church, but it's now our library. They refurbished it and it cost £1 million and they realised now it isn't big enough. And the building up to the right is the town hall, and the memorial here is for the people who fell in the First World War, and the two wings on either side is for the people who lost their lives in the Second World War. The building here on the right is the youth hostel. And the next building coming up on the right is Islesborough Community Centre. It used to be a public school. It's now been turned into a community venue.
And along the route, we passed through the countryside, along the coast, and through the hills.
Shetland is made up of about 100 islands, and only 16 are inhabited. Most of them are linked with either small car ferries or bridges. There's 3 of the islands that's linked by small bridges. Some of them with small ferries that link the islands maybe on a weekly basis or by small airplanes. We'll stop here quickly if anybody wants to take a photograph.
About halfway to our destination, it was time for our first photo ops. Smell the fresh air and appreciate the Shetland views.
See the island of Mousa now. And that's the boat that's going to take you across Tom Chimmison. I'm led to believe that there's no guides on the island.
Well, could you turn to the side please and get through there or come around here, whichever. Got a bad list of starboard at the moment.
Our ferry boat captain gave us a briefing as soon as we boarded the ferry boat.
Anyway, I'm going to have a wee, tell you about what happens when we get to the island. We drop you off there at the middle, at West Ham, at the pier, and once you get ashore, folks, if you go off the boat and just follow the coast, keeping the coast on your right hand side, follow on that, and down that takes you to the broch down there. And as you go into the broch, you'll find a box with some lamps in it, torches, and that will help you see around the place. There's a stairs that goes right up to the top, and there's some places around the base of the broch that you can get into and explore. Now from the broch, if you want to go and see the seals, which I'm sure some of you will, then you just go from the broch, go straight across the island, and just follow the posts set into the ground, and that will take you past the seals, whether in the West Pool, East Pool area. And then you can just keep going and come back to the boat, or if you prefer you can do it, the other way around, go around with the sun. Other thing folks, life jackets are stored underneath the seat. You'll see the wee boxes around underneath the seat. And
after the safety briefings, he distributed some maps.
Now, I don't have enough to give leaflets to give every couple that's aboard, but I'm sure you can share them among you and pass them around.
While we were on the ferry boat, we just enjoyed the view and looked around at what surrounded us. The water, the birds, and the islands, while the others took the time to review the map. It took us about 10 to 15 minutes to get from the mainland island to the Mousa Nature Reserve Island.
Maybe an idea, it's just an idea folks, if half you went, that way, another half went down the coast, because if all 48 of you land at the Broch at one time, you're going to be fighting to get into place. So it's entirely up to you.
The ferry boat captain just dropped us off and gave us instructions that he would be coming back in 2 hours' time to bring us back to the mainland island. We split into 2 groups hiking around the island to enjoy the view, see what goes on, and explore the Mousa island. For the 2-hour time given us, we just spent our time walking in the grassy areas and along the coast of the island, and taking some pictures of coastal rocks and flocks of birds frolicking on the island. We also came across rocks that were assembled into walls and one partially built house ruin. Of the most interesting ruin is the one called Broch. A Broch is a circular stone tower built around the beginning of the Christian era, having an inner and an outer wall. The Broch of Mousa is the finest preserved example of a Broch or round tower in Shetland, Scotland. It is the tallest still standing in the world, and amongst the best preserved prehistoric buildings in Europe. It stands 44 feet high and is accessible via a single entrance at ground level. Once inside, a visitor may ascend an internal staircase to an open walkway at the top. It is the only Broch which is complete right to the top, including the original intramural stair.
You got my handbag.
It was dark going up the narrow stair, but the couple ahead of me were making it. Where'd you get those flashlights?
Just as you came in.
Oh, there's some in there?
Yes, there's a little box.
Oh, okay.
You lift the, when you can have this, I think.
No, that's okay. I can see.
I can't switch the bloom.
Just take your time.
Doesn't it?
Tell me when you're awake.
And then you can walk around it?
No, it stops you.
It stops you there, huh?
Yes.
That's the end of it.
It seems to be. There's another.
There's
bit
another
there.
door there, but you can't get in either.
That's right. It must go down somewhere.
It was a very narrow walkway and windy at the top of the Broch. This dry stone architecture looked amazing, and I think worth the visit to explore. For a few minutes, I spent my time admiring the view and the ruins surrounding it. I felt very close to nature, listening to the sounds of the birds calling, even though the island is bare with not a single tree around. Going back down the stairs, we had to be careful, just like when we were going up. And back on the ground, some in our group were just showing up to explore the Broch. There's a flashlights here. You need some.
You need them?
But yes, on the stairs.
You probably need it on the steps because it's kind of dark.
Not very good.
You might
on your feet.
you might slip.
I certainly did.
Leaving the Brock, we saw more of the island's landscapes before we headed uphill. Soon, we encountered a herd of sheep grazing in the field.
Hi guys, it's Maya.
They didn't seem too eager to see us there. Moving on, we followed the path along the shore, and just like the ferryboat captain said, there were seals on the shores of the Mousa island. They were, however, too far for close encounter, and there were only so much pictures to take on this island. After a while, I noticed that we were pretty much scattered around. It was also getting close to ending our self-tour. Heading back to the dock, I walked along a wall of rocks, and I soon joined up with a couple in our group to meet our ferry boat that will take us back to the mainland island.
What did you do yesterday?
I went to the Olive Bowls Villa. We took a ferry
Oh,
to the island.
oh, nice.
Yeah, and then we did a walk through in Bergen Town.
Oh, nice.
Where'd you guys go?
Oh, I didn't like it.
Where?
We were stuffed in a bus and saw downtown, but I couldn't take pictures very well
Why?
through the glass. They never let
They
us
never
out.
stopped?
No. And then we got to the top of the hill, or whatever. It was Edvard Grieg's house. His museum.
In the end, and sensing that we were the last ones in our group left on the island, I decided to walk faster and leave them behind, with about 10 minutes left to get to the ferry boat. I tried to tell the ferryboat captain that there were two other guys behind me, but he wouldn't listen. I felt sorry for them because they would have to wait for another 2 hours before they get picked up by the next ferry boat ride for the other group to come back to the mainland.
Oh, we do, yes. No, listen. Winter, yes.
Once we got to the mainland island, we got off the ferry boat again and boarded a bus to take us back to the Lerwick town.
We'll hopefully pull in a few minutes to see if we can find some pony stuff. When I went back to Lerwick with the busload, there was about a dozen of them on the side of the road. So
Along the way, an opportunity came to meet some of the Shetland ponies.
stop here just quickly if anybody wants a photograph. And be careful because they can bite.
And some of us pulled some grass to feed the ponies. They seemed to be happy to see us, but I was just curious to see them. With our tour over, and finally at Lerwick, we had a few minutes to explore the town, buy some souvenirs, or take a few pictures. It's a good day, it's a very interesting tour. And then I took a tenderboat ride back to the ship.
I am pleased to advise that everyone is back on board now. And weather tomorrow in Tórshavn, mainly overcast skies with some scattered showers and a gentle northeasterly breeze, temperature high 12 degrees Celsius, 54